Yo, man. How y'all doing this morning, man? This is Coffee and Sports in the Morning. Here with your boy, your host. Y'all already know, Coach Dante in the building. My boy Mo, better co-host. Can't have no better co-host than Mo. My boy Chris, right here at the bottom. We got Gene, Jordan, Key in the building. Great morning show, guys. How you guys feeling this morning, man?
Feeling great, Coach. Feeling great on a Friday.
No better place to be on a morning than right here with you guys.
Yeah, man. Yesterday, we got to get it out there right now. Probably the best show that I had on the Empire Sports Network morning show. Like I say, talked about boxing, got heavily into boxing, love those boxing topics. Like I said, we talked about a lot of great things, and the fight that Mo talking about between Marvin Hagler and Perfermo, some physical bouts, man. And I watched that fight last night, and it was very physical, man. Al Perfermo gave him a little bit of hell, before Marvin Hagler stopped him. But those was good moments. But we got some NBA free agency, man. We all will be happy, man. This is the best time of the NBA season. We're going to see a lot of moves. We're going to see a lot of trading. And we're going to talk about one of those in our first topic. Y'all stay tuned because we got our top 10 list of greatest players of all time. You guys don't want to miss that segment right now. So again, we're going to start with James Harden maybe getting traded. Him and the 76ers could not come on to an agreement at all. There was supposed to be rumored that he was going to Houston, but that was shut down immediately. Ime Udoka did not want James Harden in Houston. Instead, he's going for Fred VanVleet. It's the main option in Houston. So other than that, James Harden got links to Miami, also New York. The Clippers are up and now. Chris, how you feel, man? Where do you think the best case scenario for James Harden to land if the Sixers were to trade him?
This James Harden merry-go-round, man, it's a good time. I always talk about where James Harden's going to go. I think Miami would be a nice fit. Miami needs another star. They need someone else that can take the pressure off of what they got going on there right now. Do I love everything that Harden brings to the table? No. Is Harden going to, strengthen you defensively? No. But Miami needs another scorer. They need an option 2 or an option 1A or even a 1 and let Jimmy be a 1A, whatever it shakes out to be. That's what Miami needs. So if you're looking just from a pure scoring standpoint and an offensive standpoint, I think Miami is a really great fit. I know the Clippers are getting a lot of rub right now, but as far as the Clippers go, I mean, Kawhi, you got a team in LA that can't stay healthy. You don't know who's going to play or when they're going to play. Yep. And I don't know what adding James Harden to that mix does. Because if you add Harden to the Clippers, what you're looking at is, well, if everybody's healthy. And I hate to be the guy that, predicates my things based on health, but they've never all been healthy in Los Angeles. So I have a hard time sitting here being like, well, the Clippers are going to be this because you're going to get their new big 3 on the court and it's going to be amazing. I don't think you ever will. Yep. So I think the Clippers move on paper sounds great, but I don't think you're ever going to see that team all play together. So for me, I'm a big fan of him going to Miami. I think Miami needs it the most on the offensive side of the ball, but that's just me.
Hey, I said that numerous occasions. I don't think you would never see a fully strength, healthy Clippers team. As good as potential they are on paper, I really don't think, even if James Harden go down, you remember with the Brooklyn Nets, James Harden immediately became the number 1 option that second season because Kyrie Irving issues. He was off the court. You didn't know when he was going to next game. The minute he's playing a game, the minute he's got to go to a club and be a part of a birthday party or, be a part of a personal reason at the minute. Then you see him on a live stream. You see him on a live stream on other people's live stream. Now Kevin Durant goes out. Now what Harden does, he's forced to be the first option, which is he clearly fell up out of that mode, that which is he was the first option in Houston. He had enough in the tank to carry. Now you got to tell me at this stage of my career, I got to carry now with two of these guys on up out of here. Plus he didn't come in as in the best of shape. So that prompted him to clearly give up on the Brooklyn Nets and go to Joel Embiid when he was still the same Harden, out of shape. Yes, he's going to be a 20-10 guy. But Mo, this is a question I'm going to have for you as well as you answering the question. The Miami Heat that Chris named is very interesting. Due to the fact 2 out of the last 4 years that Miami was able to get to the finals with Bam, Jimmy Butler alone, adding James Harden to that mix. He don't get us wrong, he still get you 20 and 10 as assists. Will that be enough to get Miami to the finals? Because there was enough 2 out of the 4 years basically with Bam and Jimmy. How do you value if James Harden goes to Miami? How do you value his 20 and 10 punched in that lineup alone? How do you value that due to the Miami can pretty much no matter what it is, they always going to find a way to get there. But do James Harden 20 and 10 or how you feel about James Harden going to Miami?
So if you're going to get James Harden for, let's say, 65 or more games in the regular season, and then you factor in, like you said, what they've been able to do 2 out of the last 4 years, they've gotten to the NBA Finals. We've talked about this during the course of the playoffs, these past playoffs, what they're missing in this NBA that's star for shot creators. Jimmy Butler needed another guy who could create for himself and for others. So I think James Harden provides a service immediately with his skill set. Even this lesser version of James Harden. Look, if you're going to give me James Harden, the guy that led the league in assists and 20 points a game, and let's say he shoots about 45% from the field, 36 from three, we know he's going to get to the line at least 8 times a game. That James Harden, to me, provided you've got Bam, Jimmy, and whatever else they do with the rest of the roster construction, I wouldn't be shocked to see Miami back in the conference final. Look, it would be a nightmare. It would be a nightmare for Boston if Miami was able to add another piece. They didn't know how to stop Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin. So now you add James Harden to that, and you let Bam, I think, fall back more into his more comfortable role. He's not a 2, not offensively. He's more like a 3rd or 4th option. I think you get a better version of Bam. And I also think the bench players who are mostly shooters, they get more opportunities. The one thing James Harden does that no one talks about is he's a terrific facilitator, and he's got great court vision. So whether he's scoring or facilitating, he would impact the Heat greatly. Yes, you're going to lose something on the defensive end, but when you're talking about total impact, it's worth it. It's worth it. My only question is, because we always talk about Heat culture and how Pat Riley thinks, how Spoelstra thinks, can James Harden handle Heat culture? Because no, I'm just being real. Because
I know, I feel you.
In Miami, they have a weekly weigh-in. They weigh their players weekly. You have to weigh a certain amount. You have to have a certain amount of body fat. I'm just saying, just on basketball, he's fine. But the other stuff that comes with Heat culture, can James Harden handle that?
Yep.
What's Miami giving up to get him?
Like I say, once Philadelphia, I thought he had room to go where he want. I think Miami only came up because he was in the trade scenario. That's why I think Miami only came up. In the Sixers, he found out the Sixers wasn't gonna. He found out the Sixers wasn't gonna pay him a max contract. But at the end of the day, that's when I think the trade came up. They said, "Nah, we're not gonna let him go. Not gonna just let him walk. We're gonna go ahead and entertain the trade and get something back for him But you do got Matt Screws, who's a free agent right now. You do got Matt Screws, who's a free agent right now. And I think Philadelphia do need some depth. I don't think Tyler Hero is going to be in the deal. I really don't think they're going to toss him in. So it'll be interesting to see what they will get for him. I mean, if they got an interesting guy who I think that could be good, Jovic, if they can package him in the deal, all of a sudden in the deal, I think that will kind of be fine. Kyle Lowry, I think they're on the verge of releasing him. If you're going to be on the verge of releasing him, maybe do you trade him to the Sixers? Trade him to a Sixers so he can have another opportunity. But one thing the Sixers need, they need bench depth. They need depth. They need depth. So if I was the Sixers, like I say, if you can get a Norman Powell off that Clippers bench, Bones Highland, Terrence Mann, if I'm the Sixers, that's the team I'm going
to. The Clippers have much more to offer.
Yes, they have much more to offer. If I'm the Sixers, that's the trade I'm making. Because James Harden, he don't have a no trade clause, so you can trade him whatever the best offer you get. You can trade him whatever the best offer you get. So if I'm the Sixers, if I have a chance to get Norman Powell in the deal, Bones Highland, who can also score, and Terrence Mann, who's a good.
I would love Terrence Mann.
Terrence Mann, who doesn't stop playing in Morris. Hey, that's a stacked bench. You automatic boost up your bench. And not to mention, they're not paying Eric Gordon, so it's possibility he could be thrown in. Your bench is phenomenal immediately with that. So if I'm the Sixers, I would entertain that.
That's actually a great move, Coach. Entertaining a deal with the Clippers, because the Sixers wouldn't be top heavy, but they would be instantly one of the deepest teams in the East.
They would have a deepest team.
With all the assets they get from the Clippers, I would do it in a heartbeat. I think overall they would be a better team. They wouldn't boost as much star power, but they'd be a more balanced team.
And you weaken their bench. You weaken their bench too. You weaken the Clippers bench too. You hurt them, but you also help yourself out because something that you didn't have last year's bench depth. So
and then the Clippers become top heavy, which is terrible for them because their three best players, they can't stay on the floor.
Yep. So we got a signing yesterday. Harrison Barnes staying with the Sacramento Kings on a 3-year, $56 million deal. Mo, I'm gonna start with you. What you think about the signing back from Harrison Barnes, or do you think he should have went somewhere else? But what you think about the sign? Is it a good move or a bad move by Harrison Barnes and the Kings?
It's a great move for both. Harrison Barnes is a leader in that locker room. He's a stabilizing force on that team. Harrison Barnes is one of those guys that's the epitome of Mr. Solid, Mr. Dependable. You can book Harrison Barnes, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, solid defender, stays in his lane, knows his role, and he's all about team. He's a perfect team first player. And I think bringing him back, that lets you know that Sacramento is serious about establishing a culture themselves. I think they're trying to make sure that what they did last year, guys, wasn't a one-off. And you do that, you give yourself a better chance by running it back with the roster you had last year. Maybe you add a couple of more components, but you don't trade away leaders. The NBA right now, I would say, is bereft of leaders. It doesn't have a lot of leaders on some of these younger teams. So you don't give away a guy who's not just a great leader, but he's still a solid basketball player. He's only 30 years old, so it's a great move for both him and the Kings.
Yeah, my boy E in the building. Oh, hell yeah, E. I love that, E. Shout out to my boy East Coast Gridiron, man. But go ahead, Chris. What you think about the move, man?
Take a look at some of our youngest teams in the league, some of our youngest players in the league, and what's the most prevalent conversation? Guidance, leadership. Yep. Who's leading the ship? Who's leading them? Who's the voice on the team? That question comes up so much with young players and young teams. Thanks. Sacramento don't got to worry about that. They got that. They had that last year, and they're bringing it back next year because they realize we have a young team. We have an up-and-coming team. That was successful, mind you. Regular season success, not as much postseason success as they might have wanted, but it was successful. And if they're going to build on that, get back to where they were before, you got to have adults in the room. You can't have the kids running the shop. And you guys know how the NBA runs. The coach can only do so much. These coaches aren't running the teams, you know? Yeah. It's the guys on the floor. It's the voices in the locker room. Those are the ones that are really guiding the ship. So to bring him back, his leadership, and on top of that, it's not just leadership. We're not talking about a broken down, 40 or something year old Chris Paul. I know he's not there yet, but it feels like he is, who can't really do it on the offensive side anymore because his body's kind of failing him. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy that is still athletic. He's on the back end of his prime, but he's consistent. You know what he's good for every night, and he's going to give it to you. Injuries aren't a concern, and he's guiding that locker room and that young group of kids to get to that next level. And like Mo said, you're sending a message to your team and to the league that we're going to run this back. We're going to be back. We expect to be back where we were last year. It wasn't a one and done. It wasn't a flash in the pan, and then we're irrelevant for another 16 years. We're trying to keep this thing together. So it benefits everyone. And he, what, 3 for 54? That's not bad.
Yep. I like y'all said, y'all touched on everything, man. Harrison Barnes is a leader. He brings some cohesiveness in the locker room. And all of a sudden, people forgot, man, this man, his second year is an NBA champion. He is an NBA champion, so he does know what it takes. And he's a double-digit scorer. Last year, he averaged 15 a game. Ever since his rookie year, the man got better, and better. The man is a flat-out scorer. He knows how to score, and he was an NBA champion with the Golden State Warriors. And like you said, Chris, he's been healthy. He only played 2 seasons under 7. He only played 3 seasons under 70 games. Rest of the games, last year he played all 82. The year before last, he played 77. So his durability is down. He only had 3 seasons when he only played under 70 games. And 66 games with the Warriors in 2016. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty durability. But other than that, the man been a healthy guy. So you got no problems with the injury. So I'm glad you brought the durability up in there, because that's very important. That's very important too, having his durability. But I'll say not mad at the move. Also moved by Sacramento, keeping that team going and running it back due to the substantial sensitivities of the Western Conference not being as good as we all expected. So they bringing him back is really solid. So again, we have how competitive can Dallas be if they re-sign Kyrie Irving? And do y'all think Kyrie Irving will end up coming back or re-signing? Mo, I'm gonna start this one off with you.
If they re-sign him, I think they're going to be a playoff team, because you guys know they had a great draft night. They've done some good moves to add depth to their bench. So I like the things they've done around Luka. The real question is, can Kyrie and Luka be a cohesive unit together? Because right now, last season, the little bit that we saw of them, they didn't really play together. They just took turns playing iso ball. And we know they both can score. We know they both can create and get their own shots. But if they can't work together and make the role players around them better, they're going to be a team that's going to be fighting for a play-in spot. So even if you bring back Kyrie, I don't think this is a team that's going to contend. I guess that's the bottom line. The answer to the question is, are they going to contend? No, they're not.
I don't think they will. And I like the center that they got in the draft, Derek Lively. He's going to bring some immediate rim protection. But other than that, I think they need some perimeter defense. Their perimeter defense was lackluster last year. They did give up Dorian Finney-Smith, who meant a lot to them, but they stink on the perimeter. As far as on the perimeter, they're really bad on the perimeter. I think that's one thing they do need to go out there in free agency. They need to get somebody that's perimeter oriented on defense. Jaden Harden is also a good rookie. Was a good rookie. He stepped up last year, but other than that, I think they need to improve on some perimeter defense. I think they got the rim protector that they were seeking for. Yeah. But perimeter defense you need that more than anything to stop someone from going to the paint. Like Luka said last year in a press conference, he said, "Hey, anybody can score on us. Us three on this panel, we can drive in the lane and score on them." That's how bad their defense was. But Chris, take it away.
Kyrie can't be a 2. I'm sorry. Look at his career. The only time it worked was with LeBron, and that was a struggle to make that work. Luka isn't LeBron. Kyrie needs to be a 3 on a team, and Luka's having his own issues. Luka can't play with people, apparently. They're having their own issues finding someone that Luka can play with. So you're taking Kyrie, who couldn't do it in Boston when he was the guy. Yep. He had his issues in Brooklyn. You know, he was the guy there for a little bit, and they brought in some people, and they all had their issues. Like, it just didn't work. I'm not going to put it all on him. Yep. But he's had his issues, and I don't think you can build a team around him, and I don't think you can put him as a 2 and build around that either. I think he needs to be the third option. I think you need 2 established stars or, talent there, and then Kyrie can complement the 2. And you're trying to build around him and Luka, which we already saw didn't work last season. I get it. It's a small sample size, But what about last season left you being like, hey, if they just work on it a little bit, I think we got something there. Nothing.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing there to look at and be like, hey, this is a piece. Because it wasn't a piece. It was just two guys doing their thing and trying not to get in each other's way, which didn't work very well. The defensive side of the ball was absolutely terrible because
garbage.
Nothing. They couldn't stop anything.
Yeah.
So I like their draft. And like Mo said, yeah, they're going to compete for a back-end playoff spot. But is that what we're doing? Is that what your bar is? Like, make it into the playing game?
Right.
Because if that's your bar, if that's what you're like, we should be able to do this, then I don't think you're putting together the team the right way. So I know I saw some things. He wants to meet with the Suns or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. I think, if he could end up on a team like Phoenix where he's literally like the fourth or fifth thought, that would be great for him because that's just what he needs. For whatever reason, as much talent as this dude has, and don't get me wrong, he is talented. He, above so many other people, he needs the perfect fit to work. And it's not going to happen in Dallas.
To piggyback on what Chris said real quick, Coach, I agree with Chris 100%. Look, Kyrie as a talent is a top 5 talent. It's the reason Boston thought they could build around him. It's the reason Brooklyn thought pairing him and KD and along with Harden eventually would be unstoppable. He doesn't have the mindset to be a number one. And I don't think it only worked once with LeBron, but it did only work once. And I'm sure that was who knows what went on in the locker room. Kyrie Irving is a difficult guy to play with. So is Luka, by the way. They're difficult to play with.
Yep.
And if he went to Phoenix, it might work better for him because you've got 3 elite scorers there. Maybe he could actually play the role of point guard more in Phoenix. Because I think the reasons he's meeting, people are saying he's trying to create a market for himself. I think he's smart enough to know, even if Dallas gives him the money, he'll get the money, but he's going to get destroyed because they're not going to be any good again. And I think he knows that. I think he would rather take less and have more success, which is kind of shocking nowadays for a player to do that, than run it back, get that full max, and then get destroyed because you barely make it into the play-in.
There comes a time when you've been to so many teams and so many cities, and you've been the saving grace or you've been the turning point for so many teams, and it's failed, that even the most out there people, and Kyrie can be out there sometimes, but even the most out there people have that moment where they're like, listen, I got to do something. And I think he's kind of at that point now where he's kind of looking around being like, do I really want to be in Dallas with just me and Luka? Because, he was talking about how LeBron should come to Dallas. Right. And he was throwing feelers out there because I think he realizes if he runs back this him and Luka thing in Dallas, it ain't going to be everything people think it's going to be. Yeah. So I think, like Mo said, he's kind of looking around being like, if I can't bring someone to Dallas, maybe I can get myself somewhere a little better because he's going to get crushed. He's going to get crushed on and off the court. And from what we've heard about Luka, he's not really a guy you want to be around when things aren't going well. So
it's an interesting question that I do want to bring to y'all, but I'm going to go back to Chris's point where he literally, Kyrie Irving, we're going to get this right now. He's not a leader. I don't think Kyrie Irving is. He's not a leader at all. Yes, they even had problems throughout the first championship run. They had problems throughout the second championship run in Cleveland when they won a championship, but we already know while his attitude kind of deflected because of LeBron James got a lot of spotlight for, the Golden State Warriors series, and nobody mentioned him and giving him the credibility, that he did end up hitting the game winning shot to seal the game. But guess what set the shot up? The block set the shot up for it to happen. So you probably don't have, we got to look, when you look at that game, nobody could score. Nobody could score actually until that block. Nobody actually scored until that block. Kyrie Irving 3 was actually the difference maker of the game, but the block was the momentum changer. The block was actually the momentum changer. So he threatened that he will have foot surgery, which we all know he did not have a problem with his foot. He goes to Boston. Gordon Hayward immediately goes down because Gordon Hayward was coming off a great season in Utah which is they beat the Clippers in the first round, and he ends up going to his old coach Brad Stevens. Kyrie Irving gets hurt. Ricky Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they get to the Eastern Conference Finals. The next year, they were a mess. Kyrie Irving divided the locker room. He leaves. Guess what happens to Boston? They go to the NBA Finals. They get a step over to the NBA Finals. Now, Brooklyn, you can blame a lot of things. You can blame James Harden. You can blame Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving did not want to play because of the vaccine. Rightfully so. That's you. But it wasn't when they played on the court, they were actually electric. The problem is injuries. Problem was injuries the whole time. He comes to Dallas. Dallas were the 4th seed. Now, I remind you, Dallas were the 4th seed. They were in the playoffs. Kyrie Irving comes, then they out of the playoffs. But not saying it's all on Kyrie. I'm not saying it's all on Kyrie. The problem is the organization traded away most of their defensive guys, gave up most of their defensive guys. And we all know Luke and Kyrie Irving ain't going to go on nobody on the perimeter. They could score with the best of them, but they couldn't stop nobody. They couldn't even get a stop on the defensive side. So the question I want to ask y'all, and I'm bringing it back to Luka. Luka said he wasn't having no type of fun. He wasn't having no fun. And when he says that, it was something really probably going on the front office or someone on the court. What do you think, Mo? What do you think Luka was alluding to when he said he wasn't having fun on the court? He was not happy on the court. What do you think? What buoyed into that frustration for you?
I think Luka was sending a message to Mark Cuban that if you don't get somebody around me, I'm going to start looking at other places. I'm going to leave. I won't be finishing my career in Dallas. And the interesting thing is, as gifted as Luka is, and he's one of the most gifted scorers and facilitators in the league, I don't know a perfect spot for him because he's a unique dude, man. I really don't know where you put him because I don't know if he can play with someone as good as him. Do you know what I mean? Like there's some guys that they're in their lane or in their bag when they're surrounded by good players or role players and they can make that work. I don't know if Luka can ever play at the best level when he's got a star that's his equal or better than him. I couldn't see Luka playing, obviously LeBron's not in his prime, but playing with LeBron, I don't think that would work. On paper, people would love it and they go crazy, but I don't think that would work. He's just as ball dominant as LeBron, if not more. So it's not all on Kyrie. I understand Luka's frustration, but part of their shortcomings is him. He is the franchise player. Kyrie's a big name, but they brought Kyrie to be his sidekick.
Yep.
I don't know if Luka's ever going to be the guy. He's going to always be all NBA. He's going to put up incredible numbers. Maybe we should ask the question, can Luka be the best player on a title-winning team? Because I'm not sure.
When Batman keeps going through Robins, at some point you have to look at Batman and be like, maybe Batman's the issue here, and it's not the 8 different Robins that we brought in to be with you. And Luka's not quite there yet, but that's kind of the territory we're in. And I get his frustration. Guys, he's not dumb. He knows what happened to Dirk. He knows that Dirk was there for years and years and years. And yeah, they want to chip with him, but they spent a good amount of that time just trying to find him a number 2. And it looks like history is repeating itself. They can't find Luka a number 2. And a lot of that has to do with him. Like Mo said, it's his playing style. It's his mindset. I get that. But that's not his deal. If I'm Luka, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you do you. You run the team. You go find me a number 2. You know who I am. You want me to be on this team. You want me to be the face of your franchise. Go find me someone to play with. So I get his frustration. And when you are the face of a franchise and you are that guy, sometimes it's hard to look at it and be like, what can I do to make some guys can do that, some guys can't, right? And if Luka is a guy that can't do that, then Mark Cuban needs to figure it out. And he has to put a team around him that's going to be successful. Because like Mo said, if he doesn't, Luka might be one of the few foreign NBA players that walks away from the team that brought them over. It hasn't happened. It's not something that happens in this league. But when he's already saying, I'm not happy, I'm not having fun, no, I wouldn't be having fun either. It's not fun out there playing with Kyrie. It's not fun out there watching teams drop 140 on you. when you're doing everything you can on the offensive side of the ball,
Can't
it's not
stop
a
a
good
nose-
time.
Coach, they can't stop a nosebleed. Like
No.
they're horrible on defense, but it starts with their two best players. Kyrie and Luka can't stop a nosebleed, neither one of them.
I mean, when you lose to Charlotte in back-to-back days throughout the weekend and get 100 points dropped on you, that's telling you something.
I
mean,
watched
they
the Charlotte
literally
game. Did you
lost
watch
to
the Charlotte game, Coach?
Yes, they literally lost to Charlotte twice.
Right. No, I watched it, but
Yeah.
I remember Terry Rozier saying, "I don't need a screen. I don't need a screen. I know who's in front of me." Come on, man. And Terry Rozier is a really good player, so there's no shade on him. But when he's feeling that cocky against you, that's not a good look.
Nope. That literally blew my mind. They lost to Charlotte the same week because you got those type of games when you go against the same team, probably a night, 2 nights in a row, or a day after. They lost to Charlotte twice in that week. In the game, most of the game, the first game wasn't even close. They literally were that bad on the defensive side of the ball. They literally lost to the Chicago Bulls without DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. They got over 100 points put on that. That's pretty bad right there. But other than that, are the Warriors a threat? If they were to re-sign Draymond Green back, are the Warriors a threat? Chris, I'm gonna start with you.
I mean, it depends on your definition of a threat. Are the Warriors able to make the playoffs with Draymond? Yes. Yeah. Are they able to potentially win a series or two with Draymond? Most likely. Can they do that without Draymond? Probably not. But are they a threat to win the title? No. And the reason is re-signing Draymond doesn't address their biggest need. And we've talked about this ad nauseum, which is they need an athletic big. That is what they need, and they currently do not have. And getting 38-year-old Chris Paul, and I'll admit, I've come around to the idea a little bit more. And in the sense of I like the idea, and who knows if they're actually going to do this, but I like the idea of Chris Paul coming off the bench.
I like that.
The way, he's never done that in his life. This man's played 1,700 games, whatever it is. He's never come off the bench once in his entire life. But if he agrees to do that and he comes off the bench and he's leading the second unit and it's a different kind of offense because of who he is, I'm open to that. Why? Because they need a scorer off the bench and they need a different look. The Warriors play such an up-pace, fast style of basketball that when you take Steph off the court, it's a completely different offense. So if they're able to add a wrinkle to their offense where they have a second unit that comes in that plays a little bit different, that plays with a different little wrinkle, I'm open to that. Because if you look at the Denver Nuggets, that's what they do. They can play fast, they can play slow. They can play small, they can play big. They have two different styles to their offense. If the Warriors come up with some sort of a version of that with Chris Paul coming off the bench, I'm all for that. But it doesn't change the fact that they're small. And it doesn't change the fact that they haven't really addressed their biggest need. And I get it. Big guys aren't just sitting out there to be plucked. I understand that. But they still have to make another move if I'm going to sit here and be like, they might compete with Denver. But just re-signing Draymond, I think it kind of puts them in the same boat they were in this year. They're going to make the playoffs. I think they'll be a better road team because they got rid of some of the issues, Jordan Poole. And Chris Paul is going to be better in the sense that he's not going to be the turnover machine that Jordan Poole was. And I think people, when they look at the Chris Paul move, they lose sight of what they got rid of. Yes, Chris Paul is not going to be, 24 point a night kind of guy like Jordan Poole was, but let's also look at what he's not going to do. He's not going to turn the ball over 8 times. He's not going to take stupid shots at the end of the game like Jordan Poole was doing. Like, he's going to bring a maturity to that second unit that Jordan Poole didn't have. So really, for me, it's addition by subtraction with Chris Paul. But Draymond is one of those pieces where they need him to be competitive, but just having him doesn't make them a contender.
Yeah, said Burns said Bradley Beal, KD, and Book cannot play any defense with Frank. I don't think you can say they cannot play defense. I think they try. They try to play defense. It's a difference when you're saying they can't play defense. I think they can play defense. They're not the best defender. That's like Jokic saying Jokic can't play defense. He tries on the defensive end, and he plays a little bit defense. I think that's kind of out of pocket when you're saying they cannot play defense. They do play a little defense. They're just not the greatest on the defensive side of the ball. They're just not the greatest as everybody. I've seen Devin Booker play defense. Now, Devin Booker, that dude can play some damn defense. That dude is really good. Is he elite at it? No, he's not elite at it, but they do give the effort on that end. James Harden doesn't play defense at all. I can say he doesn't play defense at all. He does not play defense at all. He doesn't even give effort on the defensive side. But for us in the post, if you try to post him up, I think James Harden has the body frame to bang with you. I done seen him do that before. I think it's a difference when you're saying he can't play defense instead of seeing the effort level that they put on defense. They're not the greatest defenders. They're not good at all. They're not the greatest defenders on defense, but I think they will put enough effort on that end. Yes, they're going to get scored on a lot. I think they will put effort on that end. They're just not great defenders. They're not just the greatest. Saying they can't, I'm not going to say a player can't do that because we said Jokic doesn't play defense at all. That's the one strength. That's the one disadvantage that Joel Embiid got over him is the defensive side. But Jokic tries on that defensive end. He tries on the defensive end. And just when you're going against great scores like Anthony Davis over every night and stuff like that and great pop centers, they're going to find a way. You're not going to stop a superstar, star caliber center. It's just as long as you put the effort on that end, I think it's fine. Like Dallas, they literally couldn't play any type of defense. They literally couldn't play any type of defense. That's why if you know Luka and Kyrie Irving is a weakness on the defensive side, especially if Kyrie Irving leave, you need to put some defensive guys around him. That way you can help hide him on the defensive side of the ball. That way it covers him. It just covers him and it expands him more throughout the game, what he can do. I think when you saw the Rockets play, James Harden didn't give effort on the defensive end because he knew what he had to do down the stretch. But when you have guys like P.J. Tucker, Eric Gordon and stuff like that, just like Jamal Murray, he's not the greatest on defense. But guess who you have? You have Bruce Brown. You have Aaron Gordon, Caldwell Pope. And now you have kept Michael Porter. That's why it's so important to surround defensive wing players so that way they can give effort on the offensive side. It's not the leverage that they can't. I just don't. They're not just the greatest defenders that we have. They're just not the greatest defender, but they do put the effort on the defensive side of the ball. DeAndre Ayton, he's just soft as hell. He just soft as hell. That's all he is. He's just soft as hell. But go ahead, Mo.
So, look, I think a lot of this is about roster construction, right? Adding Draymond or keeping Draymond, they're going to be good if you keep Draymond. But like Chris and you both said, it doesn't address their weaknesses. They still think, in my opinion, they need an athletic big. Looney has a role, but I think they need an athletic big. I also think they need another wing defender. I think they've gotten older. They've gotten less athletic. We've talked about this before. That second wave that everybody thought was coming with Moody, with Kuminga, it hasn't hit yet. That doesn't mean it won't. We also said that maybe their development has been hindered because they're on a different timeline than Steph Curry's prime. And so I think Steve Kerr's a terrific coach, but he's been so focused in on that core group and winning titles. Maybe he's hindered what Kuminga, what Moody, even Wiseman, who's now gone, could have done for them. But if they're going to make a serious run and try to compete, get to the Western Conference Finals, they're going to have to add more. They need more to their roster construction. If they just run back the same team, they're going to get knocked out in the second round.
Gentlemen, I got to say, I watched a little bit of the match yesterday and just watching Draymond goof off with a Steph and Clay. If that team's getting broken up, if Dre's not coming back or they're shipping out Clay, man, they are good actors because they are goofing around yesterday like everything is perfect in Warrior Land. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what today brings.
Oh yeah, Coach. When are you going to start? When is your show start? I didn't.
It starts at 5 Central Time. It starts at 5 Central Time.
I will be there.
All right. So now we got something that it's a Laker talk. It's a Laker talk, like always, but it's a certain player, and I'm pretty sure Mo knows this certain player. So the Lakers are eligible to give Anthony Davis 3-year deal 606. Look at Chris. He look at Chris with that smirk on his face. 167 mil. Do you give him that type of money? Mo, go ahead.
I wouldn't.
There we go.
But what I know about the Lakers front office, the mindset of Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, they'll give him the money. They will give them the money. They have this thing, they have a mission about how they look, how they're perceived in their dealings with star players, because they believe by showing that loyalty, it will attract other star players maybe down the road. That's been a Laker thing since I've been a Laker fan. So he will get the money. That doesn't mean that he couldn't get traded, but he will get the money. They'll give him the money. I wouldn't do it, but I understand why they're going to do it, because they have a certain formula that they believe in.
Anthony Davis picked a really good 30 games to be healthy and play well. And it was literally the last 30 games before the payday's on its way. So he set himself up really nicely to consider this, right? Because if he was hurt at the end of last season or he tanked in the playoffs, it would be a discussion of, well, why? Why are we going to pay him $3 and 167? He's never healthy. You know the narrative. But he was healthy for a good stretch at the end of the season, and they were successful in the playoffs. And like Mo said, you pay your stars in LA. Why? Because you want more stars. You don't want to not pay a star, and then you're trying to sweet talk someone 3 years later, and they're like, well, you didn't pay AD 3 years ago. You're going to do me like that? No, they're going to say, we take care of our people. Come play in LA. You get everything LA offers you, and we take care of we've proven it. We take care of everyone who comes to LA, and we're going to take care of you too. And they're like, well, sign me up for that. I want to get taken care of. So it's the LA way. Now, is it the best thing for the team? Sure, if he stays healthy. Do we know he's going to be hurt? No. Does history tell you that it's probably going to happen? Yes. But what do you do in sports? You look at your best current option, which is AD. Yep. You look at your most recent history, which was he stayed healthy for a majority of this past season, and he played pretty darn well. And that's what you roll with. Because if you try to look at, the 5 years before that, or you're trying to guess what's going to happen 2 years from now, you fall into that black hole of whatever it is, and it doesn't go well. So you take your most recent data, you roll the dice, and you hope for the best. And that's what they're going to do. And like Mo said, could they trade him next season if things kind of fall apart or something better comes along? Absolutely. But this is what they have in front of them. I wouldn't give him that much money, but if I had the Laker money, maybe I would, right?
just for clarification, Coach.
Go ahead.
Just for clarification. It's not that I'm not an Anthony Davis fan. I'm putting myself in Rob Pelinka's shoes. If it were me, for clarification, in a bigger picture, I wouldn't give him the money because I'd blow the team up. I'd blow it up. That would be me. I'd blow it up. Not just AD, LeBron. Like, I would blow it up. That's just me.
Got you. So we hear the last basketball topic. We at the main event. That everybody's going to be waiting for. So we got the top 10 greatest players of all time. So again, I think I got my list right here of the top 10 greatest players of all time. So y'all know, there goes my list. I got the great MJ, Michael Jordan, got LeBron James, number 2, 19-time All-NBA player. He's also a 4-time defensive all-defensive team. Michael Jordan has 9 all-defensive squads. 6-time NBA champion for Michael Jordan. He was the 85 Rookie of the Year. 85 Rookie of the Year. He has 5 Finals MVP, 5 MVPs overall, 4 Finals MVPs. LeBron James has about 4 MVPs under his belt. Has about 3 MVPs under his belt, and he also has 4 NBA Finals under his belt. He's also the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. He's also a 19-time All-Star as well. The longevity got Michael Jordan. But other than that, top 2 right there. I got Magic at number 3. He was the epitome of the Showtime Lakers. He invented pretty much the Showtime Lakers, averaging 19 points per game over his career, 11 assists, 7 rebounds for Magic Johnson. Kareem at number 4. I got Kareem at number 4. And Kareem had the most epitome of the unstoppable shot in the game of basketball. In the game of basketball, the sky hook. Got Wilt Chamberlain at number 5. Got Kobe at number 6. Kobe at number 6, 5-time NBA champion. Kobe Bryant. Got the Larry Bird. Larry Bird at number 7. Tim Duncan at number 8. He was the architect, of Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker. And when he first came in, the team immediately elevated to a finals contender, playoff championship contender. They beat the Knicks in 2000. They ended up beating Detroit in a defensive heavily series. They also end up beating the Lakers in 2003, which is on a route to beating the New Jersey Nets, in the finals. Tim Duncan, Mr. Fundamental, great player, awesome. Man, immediately he comes in as a rookie and, changed the culture. Greg Popovich was on the verge of getting fired until this pick happened right here. And that helped keep Greg Popovich's job. Remember, he was supposed to go to Orlando. During the 2000 era with Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill to perform a big 3. But guess what Doc Rivers did? He said his wife can't get on a bus, can't get on a plane. And so he goes back to San Antonio, and David Robinson convinced him to stay in San Antonio, and that was the end of it. And then one bad mistake that Doc Rivers made. Tim Duncan immediately said that he was going to sign. He was going to sign with the Orlando Magic, but he said, I want to go back to here, San Antonio. Well, guess what? That's how he lost Tim Duncan. You got to put the contract on the table if he's going to commit to you. You got to put the contract. You can't let him leave the building without a contract, and that was the mistake of Doc Rivers' life. I got Keem Olajuwon at number 9. The only player that won a championship without a star or a superstar. You can bring up Clyde Drexler, but he wasn't a superstar at that time. He wasn't even an all-star. He wasn't even selected. So, yes, he was the only player in the NBA to win a championship, win 2 back-to-back championships without star or superstar. On the team, he's on an all-time rebounds list as well. He's also the number 1 player in blocking shots overall. He led the league in rebounding plenty of times. So he was a great all-around offensive player and all-around defensive player as well. He was good on both sides of the ball. He's very good, versatile. He can also shoot the jump shot, and he can also make free throws and shoot threes very well. Number 10, caps out my list, is Shaquille O'Neal, most dominant force that we ever seen in the game of basketball, pretty much. He didn't have a lot of post moves. He had that hook shot. He was very strong, backing people down to the rim and dunking on them. And like I say, he helped Kobe with those championship Lakers. So top 10 list of all time. And Mo, give me your thoughts on the list.
I think it's a great list. And you know what? I don't know about you guys, but I struggled with guys like Wilt and Bill Russell. It is
okay.
You don't want to be disrespectful to someone who won 11 championships. Not just the 11 championships, everything he did outside of basketball. It's difficult. It's difficult to leave somebody like that out. But I had to make a choice, and so I went that way. I'm weird because I'm the guy that thinks guys like Russell, Oscar Robertson, and Wilt should be like in a special category unto themselves. That's just me. You could throw Dr. J in there as well. I think they need to be in their own special, you can call it silver team awards or whatever. It's difficult, but I'm like you. I left Russell off, not because I don't admire, respect the history, because I do, but I didn't see him play. And I know I didn't see Wilt play either, but here's the thing about Wilt. I didn't see him play, but the man put up video game numbers. Like, he put up the kind of video game numbers that there'll be no player that ever comes along for the rest of the NBA's history are going to put up video game numbers like Wilt Chamberlain.
And plus another thing, I don't value rings that much.
Right,
I don't value rings factor in it either.
I don't value rings in the sense that that's the end all to be all for me. But if I'm comparing the best of the best, then I have to like factor that in along with their resume. Now, when I'm forming out my top 10, it doesn't mean you don't have to have 6 championships or 5 championships. A lot of these guys, like on your list, I think Jordan is a mold breaker. He broke a mold. Jordan broke the mold, coach, because he destroyed the league in the sense that you didn't need a great big man. Jordan said, "I'll be the big man." He didn't play with. That was back when there were a lot of great big men, and everybody always went big first. He broke the mold. I think Kareem broke a mold. LeBron is a physical freak. He broke a mold. Magic and Bird saved the league. Wilt is an anomaly. Kobe might be the fiercest, most vicious competitor in the history of basketball. Like, I think Kobe Bryant eat, sleep, whatever you want to call it, breathe basketball. Maybe even more so than Michael Jordan. I think he was maniacal about how he approached the game. Larry Bird, what can I say? Tim Duncan, the big fundamentals. Hakeem Olajuwon, I actually have him on my list as well, Coach, because
we have basically almost got literally the same list.
He is the most underrated superstar in the history of basketball. Dominant. Very few guys are dominant. There's a lot of guys that make all NBA defense, but he was dominant on both ends of the floor. So he was special in that way. And people get frustrated because they'll say, "How do you have Shaq number 10?" I have Shaq number 10 because I'm looking at you and telling you that in the history of basketball, I think he's one of the 10 best players ever. I don't think I'm disrespecting Shaq. I don't think you're disrespecting Shaq. Shaq is great. I just happen to think Hakeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan and everybody else are better basketball players than he is.
That's how I value Hakeem Olajuwon. Shaq does have 4 championships. He does have them over
3 finals MVPs.
3 finals MVPs. But you tell me what big man that led a finals, 2 back-to-back finals without a star or a superstar on the team. While Shaq had Kobe Bryant. Literally, Hakeem Olajuwon didn't have no superstar on the team. The best outside of Olajuwon, it was just Clyde Drexler, and he was not even a star or a superstar at no point at that moment. So, and the guy did it on both sides of the floor. He led the league in rebounding. He's the all-time shot blocker leader. Shaq never led the league in rebounding. He never led the league in rebounding. He never led the league in block shots. Hakeem Olajuwon was all around talented.
You know why? Rebounding and block shots, a lot of times, that's effort.
Yep.
Shaq's dominant. Don't get me wrong. But I watched him through the Orlando years, through the Laker years. As dominant as he is offensively, he was kind of a liability defensively. Shaq, the reason why him and Kobe didn't get along, Kobe accused him of effort, conditioning, commitment. Yeah, that's kind of crazy when you think about how dominant Shaq was, that the man never led the league in rebounding.
Never led the league in rebounding.
Once.
Or block shots, not one time. Shaquille Olajuwon was the epitome of all of those rebounding. And Shaquille O'Neal, he has a higher field goal percentage, because if you're dunking the ball and shooting a hook shot every single time in the paint, and when you're bigger and physically stronger than everybody, yes, you're going to lead the league in field goal attempts. You're going to lead the league in field goals. You're going to lead the league. Hakeem Olajuwon basically can do everything. Shoot the 3. He fades away all the time. He's a better free throw shooter. He's all around better.
Greatest footwork by any big I've ever seen.
Every time he gets in the post, he has a different move. It's a different move. You look at one move on TV and say, I can stop that. But then again, he pull out another rabbit out of his hat. So, Chris.
All due respect, though, I don't have him top 10 right now. Joker's got some amazing footwork, too. I just want, he's got some amazing footwork.
Chris, go ahead.
Gentlemen, do you want to take a guess how many 30-point games Shaquille O'Neal had after he turned 30?
No, he had it. I have no idea, but I know he had a lot of them.
0.
Oh, damn.
All right. Shaquille O'Neal might be.
Damn, Chris.
Shaquille O'Neal might be the biggest instance of wasted talent of all time. He was dominant. He is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete that could do things that we'll never see again. At 315, 325, whatever it was that he weighed, he's running the floor. He is an athletic specimen that just didn't put the work in. Imagine a motivated, in shape Shaquille O'Neal his entire career. A guy that took care of his body after 30. He would have more rings. He would have more accolades. He never led the league in look at how big he was.
Yep.
Look at how at any moment he could get a shot off if he wanted to and make it. But it was just overall his career, all the things. And I'm not saying he wasn't great. He was amazing. But he was amazing without putting the work in. And I see people who will defend him and be like, if he needs to make a free throw, he could make a free throw. So what happened the other 48% of the time? He just wasn't feeling it? Like when your team's down by 6 and you're at the line for 2, you don't feel like you got to make it right there? Like, don't sit here and tell me that in the playoffs when it mattered the most, he could sink one if he needed to. Free throws are called free throws because they're free.
Yes, sir. Just
make them. Put in the time in the gym and make the free ones. He didn't do that because that just wasn't part of his game. So I will give Shaq all the credit in the world, and I will say that he was one of the most dominant players in the world. But I have an issue. I have an issue putting him as a top 10 greatest all time.
Chris, my mind is still blown on that stat about the 30-point game. I'm not lying. My mind is blown.
Because when you think about Shaq, you think about he was dominant his entire career. And yeah, he had that season in Miami, year or two, where he probably should have won MVP, but he wasn't putting up the numbers. He just wasn't. And after the guy turned 30, this is what he was. He fell apart quick and he fell apart fast. And gentlemen, you know, once we get into the top 10, we're splitting hairs, right? You're looking at things like championships. You're looking at things like leadership, scoring titles, and all that stuff. So my lists are basically the same as yours, with the exception of one name. And this guy just snuck into my top 10. I have him as 10. He didn't make either of your lists. So I'm going to throw the name out there. I want to talk about it real quick. Talk to me about Curry.
Okay.
Now, before you say anything, I want to tell you this.
Gene got the same. Got the same one.
He got him in there too.
He got him in there too.
Let me tell you this: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Jerry West. They are the only 4. Most times averaging 30 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 5 assists per games in the finals. Only ones to do it. When you're talking about greatness, when does greatness matter the most? In the biggest games, in the biggest spots. That's not even talking about the fact that if you're just looking at, and you guys mentioned it, what did Jordan do? He changed basketball, right?
Yep.
What did Bird and Magic do? They saved basketball, right?
Yep.
Steph changed basketball foundationally.
Yep.
AAU, 100%. High school, college, the way the game is played in the NBA, the way the game is defended in the NBA. The moment Steph Curry crosses the half-court line, he's a threat. Who else can you say that about? The moment he crosses, you have to have somebody near him, because when he's feeling it, he'll jack it up and he'll turn around and it will go in.
Yeah.
There is no player in the league. And I get it. He's small. And it's hard to put somebody that small sometimes on a list with giants. But let's look at Wilt. Wilt was a giant who played with a bunch of small guys. The average height in the NBA, when Wilt Chamberlain was putting up video game numbers, he was a foot taller than all of them. I mean, if you're not going to discredit Wilt, if you're not going to discredit Wilt for dominating guys a foot shorter than him, then how can you discredit Steph for dominating guys 6.5 inches taller than him? You can't cover Steph. It doesn't matter who you put on him. You've seen him shoot over guys 6 inches taller than him and drain it every night. You can't guard him. On top of that, he's got the 4 championships. He has the MVPs. He has the unanimous MVP. He has the finals MVP. What more do you want from a guy besides the on-the-court greatness? And then you mix into the fact that he's literally changed the entire game of basketball.
Got you on that one. I'm not mad at you.
I'm with you 100%. I don't know how it is for Coach, but for me, it was splitting hairs. That last spot, honestly, I've got Steph at 11, but I was probably going to get killed by Laker fans because I was really wondering Steph or Shaq.
Hey, see,
Steph
Gene
or
got the
Shaq.
same list. I'm not even mad, but
I'm not mad. It's a great list.
only thing Gene don't have is Hakeem Olajuwon. I'm
Right.
not mad. I'm not mad at that one. I'm not mad at that one. All are great players. You're gonna leave somebody off the list.
Yeah.
Which you do got Steph Curry closer. You can make an argument, Shaq. Like you said, Shaq is 11, but not all of these guys are great players. All these guys are great players, man. They're great players. So that
Chris,
Gene,
you brought up great points. Steph has changed the game, so he goes in that same category as Magic, Bird, Jordan. He's changed the game of basketball. He's the only guy, the first guy I've ever seen shoot the ball from 45 feet without breaking form. That's amazing.
And guys, let me hit you with one more: multiple MVPs, Finals MVP, multiple scoring titles. Steph, LeBron, Michael, Kareem, Wilt. That's it.
Yep. Nice. Not mad at that one at all. Not mad at that one at all. So, you got more players on there, or you just want to put stuff on?
The rest of my list was the same as your guys.
Okay.
Just mixed up. I had Shaq off and Steph on.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's. Go ahead, Mo. I couldn't hear you.
No, I said so Laker fans can kill Chris.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, Freddie, you can kill Chris. He don't even got Shaq on his list.
I'll take it. Chris? Guys, Shaq is look at the greatest centers of all time. He's not even first or second. At best, he's third.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not mad. Hey, we got the same.
I'm not arguing that.
It's hard for the third best player in their position to make a top 10 greatest of all time list. That's a tough ask.
I mean, like I say, when I watch, I look at him compared to Olajuwon, and who did Olajuwon outplay in his first finals? It was Shaquille O'Neal, a younger at that Shaquille O'Neal. Olajuwon dominated every center in his path, every center that he played. You remember when David Robinson won that MVP in front of Hakeem Olajuwon, and Hakeem Olajuwon supposed to got it? What did he do to David Robinson? It got so bad, they had to literally double David Robinson. They had to literally help David Robinson with Olajuwon. It got really that bad. They tried to switch. Then once they seen that wasn't working, David Robinson, you got to get back on him. Nothing David Robinson did work on Hakeem Olajuwon. And it was most of that was one-on-one. David Robinson he was an all-time great defender and a scorer, but can nothing be done with Hakeem Olajuwon if you were one-on-one. Even if you had to double team Hakeem Olajuwon, the man passed up out of a double team and guys made shots. He passed up out of a double team like Sam Cassell, his rookie year, made shots. First 2 years, made shots. Mario Elie, we all remember probably the greatest shot, the kiss of death right there. Hakeem Olajuwon made guys better too. He made guys better around him too. It elevated guys better around him. So, part of my thing, like I know Shaq got 4 championships with Kobe, and Olajuwon didn't even have a star on his team. That was more impressive. He didn't even have a star. His best score was 18 points per game. That was Clyde Drexler. That was the second year. That was during the trade deadline. We was number 6 in the Western Conference. That was during the trade deadline. We got Clyde Drexler literally in the trade deadline. First year, nobody was near Clyde Drexler's game at that point in time. He still won the finals. But I looked at those two and I said, Hakeem Olajuwon is the way better player. I mean, you put defense, it ain't even close. Rebounding, not even close. Block shots, not even close. None of those categories, not even close. Now, the only thing that Shaq got Olajuwon in is field goal percentage because most of his points come alley-oops and at the rim. Hakeem Olajuwon faded away all the time. And he's up there in steals too. So other than that, that's part of my crop. That's part of everything. That's better overall. It's just Shaq had a Kobe and a better overall roster.
Chris made a great point if we think about it.
Yep.
We talk about how the game has evolved and how players have gotten bigger, stronger, more athletic. But Shaquille O'Neal is the anomaly. There'll never be nobody bigger or stronger than him. Remember, he's a product of the 92 draft, but you're not going to see anybody in 2023 that size, that athletic. That's insane.
Yep. So we
can't get over that stat either. I can't.
I couldn't believe
stat.
Chris. I look up stuff like that too. But hard to imagine when he got in his 30s, not scoring 30 points. King Olajuwon was still doing that. We still dropping those many points at the age of 30. You still that dominant at the age of 30. That's crazy. That's a good word, Chris. That's a good word. Now, Freddie, you can come kill Chris about not having Shaq on here. Not having Shaq on you. You come give Chris a hard time, which I think Freddie, he'll put up a good fight. He'll put up a decent fight. So now we go to the NFL segment part of things. So, Chris, I'm gonna start with you first. Give me your top 5 head coaches in the NFL.
I mean, Andy Reid's got to be number 1. I think that's going to be pretty unanimous. I like Sean McVay at number 2. I'm a really big John Harbaugh guy. I like the stability that the Ravens have. I like the way that he has handled this Lamar Jackson crap, because that's what it really was. You never got a weird soundbite from Harbaugh or anything like that. He really keeps the ship over there straight, and he's just a good coach. He's a good coach on both sides of the ball. I mean, if you look at what he's done since they brought Lamar in over there, they've literally created an entire offense that works just for Lamar's skill set, and they've really built around a very unique skill set, which a lot of coaches and a lot of teams in the league struggle to do. You see unique skill sets all over the NFL, and you always hear, well, why can't they utilize him better? Well, that's because of the coaching around him isn't figuring out a way to utilize him better. So Harbaugh is definitely on my list. Outside of that, gotta be Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan is easily one of the best coaches in the league right now. And then for my 5th spot, it was tough. Kind of going back and forth. I wanted to kind of go with somebody kind of young and up and coming, but I wanted to give some love to Belichick, but at the same time, Bill's been kind of a mess lately. So I think I'm going to go with Tomlin in Pittsburgh. He's had some struggles on the offensive side of the ball, but again, you're looking at a guy of longevity. You don't see that in this league. You don't see he's handled different big personalities in his career. He dealt with Big Ben being a dump truck at the end of his career, and he did that gracefully. So I'm going to go Mike Tomlin around my top 5.
All right, go ahead, Mo.
So I'm going to go Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay. I think him and Sean or Kyle Shanahan, I think they're very like-minded. I like Sean McVay, Mike Tomlin, and I'm going to throw a ringer in there. I know he doesn't have a long enough resume, but I'm going to throw in Sirianni for the Eagles. I'm going to throw him in there.
So my list is almost same, but I'm going to throw another one. First of all, you got to put Kyle Shanahan up there. Sean McVay is up there. Mike Tomlin, I think it was pressure that he was going to get fired, but I don't like that crap. I think he should go out on his own right. Don't you know the Steelers only had 3 head coaches throughout their whole entire career and franchise? That's impressive.
That's kind of amazing.
They stick patient. They stick patient with their head coaches. And Mike Tomlin, to never have a losing season, even when you thought the team was even worse. Ain't no way in the world you would see that team, last year's team, how bad they were supposed to be a 500 team. Well, a 500 team. You wouldn't even really think that the way they played last year. So Mike Tomlin at number 3. Number 4, I definitely got to have Sean McVay up there. In another one, up and coming, Shane Steichen from the Indianapolis Colts. Shane Steichen from the Indianapolis Colts, who was the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Shane Steichen for the Indianapolis. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm glad you brought that up. Nick Sirianni, remember, gentlemen, he had a great play caller in Mr. Steichen that he turned over his play calling duties to last season, and that team started to pop. That guy's not there anymore. Right. If Sirianni is going back to the play calling, I'm not saying it's going to be a disaster, but I'm just saying that that's something. I think in the NFL, your offensive and defensive coordinators are really underrated. Look what happened to Josh Allen when Daboll leaves and he goes to the New York Giants. Right. The guy who is already a roller coaster becomes a bigger roller coaster. Those coordinators really do fine-tune the offensive and defensive side of the ball, especially on the offensive side. So when you have a guy who play calling was kind of a mess, the offense was a little bit all over the place.
Yep.
Steichen takes over, he fine tunes it, he turns it into a well-oiled machine. Well, now he's out the door. Philly also lost their defensive coordinator, so it's just something to kind of keep an eye on as we go into the season. Well, who's doing the play calling?
Kuba K says,
No, I love that. I love you pointing that out because now all the pressure is on Sirianni, right? Steichen's gone, so I'm with you 100%. This is a big season for him because when you lose that brain trust, that guy to actually fine tune the offense. Somebody said the same thing to me about Kansas City, and I said they're going to be fine, not because I don't think Eric Bieniemy was a great play caller, but Andy Reid has always been a great play caller. He's going to be fine.
Yep. So we're going to go with 5 underrated wide receivers.
When you asked that, I saw the question, but I didn't know we were talking about from now or from the past. So
from now in the NFL from now. Okay. Yeah, give me 5 underrated ones that you love, Mo, that you like.
Well, I don't know about I can give you 5, but I can give you.
Give me the best ones.
Terry McLaurin. McLaurin. He's number one. I think McLaurin, if he had a very let's say comparable quarterback, he'd be a top 3 wide receiver. The guy's a monster. His route tree is as long and as diverse as any receiver in the league. He's got quick feet. He's in and out of his breaks. He's got glue hands. I love Terry McLaurin. And this is a homie pick. I like Brandon Ayuk from the Niners. I think he's underrated. He's not a burner, but he's a chain mover. He does a lot of his work in the middle of the field. He's a guy. He's a yak guy. So I like Brandon Ayuk. Those are the 2 that come to my mind right off the top of my head.
Go ahead, Chris. Who you got?
For me, I like Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd kind of gets lost in the shuffle in Cincinnati because you got those other 2 guys out there doing their thing, but he is always consistent when they need him to be. So when Chase is hurt or you need a third option, he's always there, and he's just doing his thing. And he doesn't have the speed that the other 2 guys have, and he doesn't have the wow factor, but he was there before Chase was there doing his thing, right? Like he's been holding down the off the ball for that team, and he's remained that consistent. And it was one of those questions that you asked, like, well, as the other 2 emerged, does Tyler try to get out of there? Did he try to go some? No, he is content being a part of that 3-headed monster, and I don't think he quite gets the love that he deserves. And there's that kid in Atlanta, London. Is that his name?
Drake London. Yeah.
I love that kid. And I know Atlanta doesn't get a lot of love because who's watching Falcon football besides Falcons fans? I get it. But that kid's a stud. Absolute stud.
Gotcha. I love that dude. I love Drake London, man. For the offense to be as bad as there was and him get over 800 yards. Hey, that's pretty good, man, for a rookie. So I have Michael Pittman Jr. in Indianapolis from last year. The dude is a big-time body wide receiver. The man had 99 catches last year, 925 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Mo, you got my guy Terry McLaurin. If he had any type of quarterback play, this dude would damn near be one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL. Easy. And just because the Commanders are so goddamn inconsistent, just like Chris named the Falcons, you're not going to watch a goddamn losing team. You're not going to watch a losing team. You're not going to pay much of attention. But Terry McLaurin, for him to have terrible quarterback play, to have 77 catches last year and 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns, that's pretty good. And you remember that guy from Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown? Y'all know him pretty well.
That is. Okay.
Y'all know him pretty well. He had 106 catches for 6,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. You know the guy that got traded to the Bears, DJ Moore. Are we familiar with him? The one that came from the Carolina Panthers with 63 catches, 888 yards, 7 touchdowns, and one more guy. And just because this team is so inconsistent, and we just talked about the team, and you wouldn't think when you look at the team, you wouldn't think they're really a 500 team. You would think Mike Tomlin will finally have his losing season, but Deontay Johnson, 882 yards in a tub last year, 86 catches. That's pretty underrated due to the quarterback play, due to the quarterback play. They couldn't run the ball like they was expected last year. But other than that, man, these are some underrated guys. I love the Drake London pick and the Tyler Boyd
Drake
pick.
London pick was good.
Brandon Ayuk was impressive, and Terry McLaurin was impressive. So when he put Drake London, I got that dude in my top 30 wide receivers list. That dude's going to be top 15, top 10 soon, and with years to come. The only reason you would watch USC, that was the only reason you would watch USC. USC was awful year before last, before they got Caleb Williams. But the only reason you would watch USC was because to see what Drake London was going to do. But just to see what he was going to do, that's the only reason you will actually watch USC year before last, because of Drake London, what he would do. That's the only reason you will actually really pay attention to him. So I loved the hell out that Drake London pick right there. So go ahead, Chris.
Gentlemen, don't sleep on Ridley this year. I know we kind of forgot about him a little bit because he had his off the field issues. I think he's going to pop this year.
I agree. I agree. I think Calvin Ridley's going to have a big season.
Got you. So Dak Prescott, we talk about Dak Prescott. How does Dak Prescott need to improve in 2023? Mo, I'm gonna start this one with you. Look at
the turnovers. You can't give the ball up. You have to start. Look, your offense is doing well if you can just go 3 and out at times. Sometimes you just got to punt the ball and play field position and trust your defense. If he can take the turnovers down to a notch and be more consistent, and he's got to be a lot better on third down. The Cowboys struggled on third down. Dak is one of those kind of guys. He's definitely a rhythm quarterback. And if you can get him off rhythm and get him rattled, he's all over the place. I think his biggest flaw, at least when I watch the Cowboys, is he seems to lock in on one receiver way too often. So to me, the key for him this season, the turnovers and just be a lot better on third down.
Go ahead, Chris.
Get your team to a Super Bowl. Cowboys fans.
I'm not going pie in the sky.
Listen.
They're not going to the
because let's be honest. Oh, fine. I'll even go conference championship, right? What can Dak do for a Cowboy fan to walk away feeling good about Dak's season? There has to be postseason success. Dak could win the MVP. He could pass for 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns, and only have 10 picks, and lead the league in a bunch of categories. And if they lose they'll probably get a bye if they do that. And if they lose in their first playoff game, they don't get to the conference championship, it don't matter. Dak is at that point. You've gone 12-5 the last 2 seasons. You're constantly picked to win your division. You're almost kind of in that Buffalo Bills era right now, right? Where just being there is no longer good enough. Just being considered a top, and I don't know if Dak's a top 10 quarterback. I say he's top 15. I don't know if he's top 10.
Yeah, I got it.
But just being a top half quarterback with a division winning team, there comes a point where it's no longer good enough. As a Dolphin fan, we'll take a division. We haven't climbed that mountain in a while, right? As a Houston Texans fan, you'll take a wild card. That's
an improvement. Yes, sir.
There are certain levels you're willing to take as your team becomes successful. Dallas is used to winning the division. Dallas is used to 10 plus wins a season. They've been doing that the past couple of years. They need that next level. So, but if you're looking at the nitty gritty, Mo, you hit it on the head. He is god awful on third down. He is god awful when the play breaks down around him. And this all goes back to what he is. And I'm sorry, Cowboy fan. He's a middle of the road quarterback. He's not great. He's not terrible. He is a top 15 guy. I think he peaks in somewhere in the 11 to 15 range. If you put good talent around him, he's going to play well. Is he going to elevate a bunch of, 2 and 3 receivers? No, that's just not what he does. So he needs to play a little more consistent. He needs to improve a little bit accuracy-wise on third down. A lot of that is play calling, by the way. Yep. Don't put Dak in situations where he's not going to be the most successful on those third down plays. There were some times last year where he just missed guys that he shouldn't have missed. I get it. He's going to do that because he's not a top 5 quarterback. But we've come to the point with the Cowboys where I don't think Cowboy fan is going to be happy unless they reach that next step, which I think is going to be making it to a conference championship.
Yep. Like I say, even a 6-11, 7-10, I will be happy about that. Any type of, I would even just be happy along that. If you say wild card, if you bring a wild card, that's overachieving. That's really actually overachieving what we do. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that part up right there. So thank Mr. Chris for bringing that positive word up. But hell yeah, I'll take a wild card in the New York Minute. But other than that, we go to Russell Wilson. We got Russell Wilson returning to his 2023 form. Chris, I'm gonna start this topic with you. Do you think he does that with Sean Payton at the helm?
He can't be worse, guys. He was awful last year. You can't be much worse. And if he is much worse, he won't be the starter by like week 8. I don't know who his backup is, but if we see a worse version of Russell Wilson than what he was last season, the first 8 games of this season, they're going to bench him. Like at that point, you've seen a year and a half of garbage out of Russell Wilson. And I think at that point, Peyton's going to be like, okay, you don't got it. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Russ is washed, but we've seen quarterbacks lose it quickly. Look at Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning almost overnight lost it. He went from being Peyton Manning to can he throw a ball yards down the field? Now, a 65-year-old guy doing it happens sometimes. I think Russ is in a situation. He's trimmed down. He looks to be in the best shape he's been in a couple of years. Maybe he's got 8 life coaches. I don't know what he has going on over there, but things are looking aesthetically like they need to look. And more importantly, and let's not forget this, he has an adult calling plays now. He has an adult running the operation. I mean, Russ was so out of place and uncomfortable in Denver last year that he was looking at situations knowing Nathaniel Hackett was wrong and just going with it. Because that is the non-confrontational guy that Russell Wilson is. You damn well know on that 4th and 5 play when they were all kind of putzing around, calling timeouts, talking about it, Russ already knew in his mind what play to run to get that first down, or to at least put them in a position to get that first down. Do you think Tom Brady would have walked off the field and let that kicker? Tom Brady would have brought them back in the huddle and said, let's go. And if they called a timeout, he would have stayed on the field and been like, I'm not coming off. So what do you want to do now? Like, he isn't that guy. He's not that alpha guy that's going to have that combative nature, but that's okay when you have an adult who knows football calling plays. Now we're good. Now Mr. Hackett is out the door, so it's going to be better, and he's going to run a little bit more, and I think we're going to see closer to what we saw a couple of years ago with Russ. Unfortunately, he plays in a division with the Chiefs, and unfortunately, he plays in a division with a better quarterback than him in Justin Herbert. Now, Justin may not have all the pieces around him that he needs, but you're not playing in Seattle's division anymore. You got things happening around you. So is it going to translate to a division title? No. Could it be a playoff spot? Maybe. But that's just kind of the reality he's playing with this year.
Man, hey, before I get to Mo, just so laughable, man, last year. And when I looked at that game right there, that Seattle game, and you see, and then first of all, throughout the drive, Russell Wilson was able to find open slots in the defense. But when they get close to midfield and you're thinking, you can tell Nathaniel Hackett didn't know what to do. Why would you allow the clock to run down? Why would you not have it in your mind? We're moving the football. They've been moving the football throughout the whole game. I know the score was kind of a low scoring game, but if you actually watched that ball game, Denver was able to get up the field. I mean, you count in the 2 fumbles that Williams had and Melvin Gordon at the end zone at the goal line when they had a chance to score a touchdown. You count in them 2 fumbles right there. But other than that, I thought they moved the ball. But when he got to midfield, you let the time run down. You didn't even call a timeout. You didn't even bother by calling a timeout. You called a timeout when it was clearly field goal time. But at the minute, adjusting, you should have stopped the clock. and say, okay, let's set up a play and we're gonna go for it. But you had the kicker to kick a 60-yard field goal where Russell Wilson's still on the field. Then at the play, you're in a hurry-up situation. They were carving them up in a hurry-up situation, but all of a sudden, you called a timeout just to kick a field goal, a 60-yard field goal, instead of having Russell Wilson say, let's go, let's keep tempo, and let's get this 4th and 5. Because they were able to get it because that secondary from Seattle was not doing great that game. Maybe you get up a little further to kick a game-winning field goal, but all they needed was a field goal. And you decide to call a timeout just to kick a 60-yard when your offense moving up the field, and there was a 4th and 5, manageable down when Russell Wilson was able to connect all game long, and he had to get an assistant coach to come in and help him manage a timeout, just to manage big time situation. But one thing we know last week, Chris say, if Russell Wilson has the same season, Nathaniel Hackett say, raise his hand. It wasn't me. It was him. Go ahead.
Somewhere Nathaniel Hackett is rooting for that.
Yep. Go ahead, Mo. Give me your thoughts.
You and Chris covered everything, so I'm going to shorten my thoughts. Sean Payton is going to set Russell Wilson up for success. Sean Payton is one of the best play callers in the history of the NFL. They're going to go back to being a run-first team, and they're going to set Russ up. Russ is not going to throw for 4,000 yards. If I had to think, he's probably going to be around 3,700 yards. They're going to run the football. Russ is going to feast off a play-action pass. Sean Payton will get the best version. Whatever's left of Russell Wilson, Sean Payton will get it. They have talent on the outside. They also, in the draft, went out and fortified that offensive line. They made moves to let you know they plan on running the football. So I expect Russell Wilson to have a very good season. I don't know if they make the playoffs, but I think they'll be in contention because Sean Payton is going to set him up for success.
Got you on that one. So we got another topic right here. We got the Jets. We got the Jets right here, and Aaron Rodgers. The Jets Jets have too much freedom. Aaron Rodgers. How much freedom Aaron Rodgers got in this Jets offense? How much freedom that Aaron Rodgers got in his offense? Mo, I'm gonna start with you.
He's Aaron Rodgers. They didn't bring him there to get in his head and make him overthink. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have all the freedom in the world in that offense. They brought Aaron Rodgers there because they knew with a comparable quarterback, with the skilled positions that they already have, with the talent they have on the outside, their offense could take off. I don't know if you get prime Aaron Rodgers, but I think there's no question the Jets offense are going to be so much better because Aaron Rodgers can recognize coverages. He can recognize when that safety's walking down to the box. He can see when he's got one-on-one. He can adjust to the blitz. Aaron Rodgers is one of those quarterbacks. He thinks the game out. He can walk up to the line of scrimmage, and he can audible out of whatever they call it. I think he's going to have the freedom to pretty much do whatever he wants. They didn't bring him there to be a role player, to use an NBA term. Aaron Rodgers they brought there to be a difference maker. I expect Aaron Rodgers. The Jets will have a winning season, I think. I just don't think they're going to have the kind of season that Jets fans think they're going to have. I don't think they're going to be in the playoffs.
Chris?
I think y'all are forgetting they brought the offensive mastermind Nathaniel Hackett over to the New York Jets to pair back up with Aaron Rodgers. All right, that's the real talking point here. No, I mean, they're going to let Aaron do whatever the hell Aaron wants to do. The saga to get him to New York, the fact that he is prickly as it is, the fact that you have young receivers and you know he hates working with young receivers, like whatever Aaron needs, you're going to give Aaron what he needs, because what happens if you don't? We've seen it in Green Bay. We've seen depressed Aaron. We've seen upset Aaron. We've seen pouty Aaron. We've seen Aaron, you drop one ball, I don't look at you the rest of the game, even if you're wide open and you can score a touchdown, Aaron. We've seen those versions of Aaron. And that's the last thing the New York Jets want. They don't want to get into a situation where they make Aaron think the walls are closing in on him and he turns into a moody mess and the season gets thrown away because of it. Let's be honest. The window with Aaron Rodgers, it should be 2 or 3 years in New York. Man. Hopefully it's 2. It might only be 1. Like no one in that organization is walking around with the bravado he's coming back next year. You may hope he is. You may feel like he might, but let's be honest. No one is super confident we're getting year 2 out of Aaron. So you take this year for what it is. You get every bit you can get out of it, and hopefully you win 9 or 10 games. You get into the playoffs, and you light a fire under Aaron, and he wants to come back for year 2, where then I think you can start looking at maybe we can turn this into something more. But as far as giving Aaron control, he will have whatever the hell he wants. If he wants hot dogs delivered to him on the sidelines during the game, someone's bringing Aaron hot dogs on the side. Like literally whatever. If he wants a little tent to have a darkness retreat during halftime, he's going to have a tent to have a darkness retreat. Whatever Aaron wants, he's going to get in New York year 1.
Hey, Coach, just one quick thought. You know this worked both ways. Russell Wilson's going to be like, let's see what Aaron does.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers, right? He's like, yeah, I tried to warn you. You got Hackett. See what happens?
It's the last topic of the day, and it's would you rather topic? Would you rather topic? So, Chris, this is one I got for you, Mo. So, would you rather win a Super Bowl and rebuild for the next 10 seasons, or be competitive for 10 seasons without a champ title guaranteed? Which one would you rather have?
So I want to lean towards being, because we all want to be relevant, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be the Cleveland Browns. You don't want to have, losing season after. I mean, you don't. Yeah. But at the same time, it's about championships, right?
Yeah.
Like when you win one, you win one. No one can take that away from you. I mean, look at the Yankees, for example. Their last title was 2009. I've been waiting for one ever since. I would have gladly taken one in 2019. Sure, they were competitive for those 10 years. What did it get us Yankee fans? Nothing. So I get it. It sucks when your football team sucks. It's rough. But even in those rough years, you still watch. It's not like other sports. Football is one of those sports where you just show up to get your butt kicked over and over again if your team sucks. And you ride the roller coaster, just like Josh Allen's stats. You draft a quarterback, you're like, this is going to be the future. He sucks, he's out in 2 years. You do it all over again. Like that's what you do when you are an NFL fan. And I would definitely trade in 10 years of crap, which is basically what the Dolphins have had for the past 20 years. And for one chip, I would gladly do it, because if you take out, look at Dolphin fan, you take out the Tannehill years where they think they made the playoffs once, and you take out the last couple of Tua years. Before that, it was 10 years of crap, and I would gladly trade that in for a Super Bowl. So I'll take the chip.
Go ahead, Mo.
I'm the chip. Look. New York. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Joe Namath has made a life off of that one title. That man probably never buys a meal in the city of New York the rest of his life. And that was back in the days. I think the TV was still doing black and white TVs, like off of that one title. So I'll take the title. And look, we see it all the time. The Lakers brought LeBron there, knowing they would mortgage the future eventually, right? To win a title. And they did it. They got the one title out of the LeBron era, and Jeannie will tell you worth it. 100%. We might be mediocre or so for the next 10 years, but that title's on the books. You can't take that away. So give me the title every day.
Hey, like I said, guess what? Chris, you did bring up a baseball statement, which does factor into it. So other than that, too bad you have to deal. Now that I know you're a Yankee fan, that you have to deal with the Astros so many years.
Okay.
But other than that, go ahead.
What do Yankee fans talk about, though? I mean, you bring up anytime, and us Yankee fans are all pretty much the same. Once you start talking championships, we start talking about how we got, over 20 of them. And we're trying to get to 30.
Like, I got a friend that does that all the time. He goes,
that happened. Every Yankee fan I talk to, and they don't look at today's what's going on. Nope. All they say, the first thing they say is, we got over 20 titles.
All the time. They go, every Yankee fan goes scoreboard.
That's the only narrative you can use. But I'm just like, what about today? What have you done since 2009? And you explained it. You basically explained it. You can never be satisfied with not winning many championships. The Yankees, Lakers, all of those going to go down for winning. If you can't win, if you're not winning World Series or NBA title, what the season comes up as? A failure. The season is going to be a failure because you got a lot of money, you spend a lot of money, and hey, you expected you're bringing in top notch, and it's still not resulting in the results you want. But one thing, the Lakers, yes, they gave away Zion Williamson in the deal, but guess what? They got the title, and it was basically recent. It was basically recent a little bit, but again, they're like they tried to take away the Astros 2017 World title, even though we just did it home games. But guess what? Can't take it away. But then guess what we did? We come back very last year. I don't give a damn. We don't even make the playoffs. All I know, we just got to get in that mud. If we get in, we still going to be dangerous. But I don't care. We can be bad for the next 10 years. You know what? I got 2 championships on rings up under my belt. And I will take the title any day of the week, no matter how much. Just like we suck in lost games on purpose for 3 straight 100 years. 3 straight years of 100 lost games. Don't you know how depressing that is as a fan when you suck that bad? But again, it was worth it because you know why? We drafted well, we got the players, and guess what? We became a dynasty. So definitely agree with Chris. I'm definitely taking a title anytime. How you get it, you're not gonna. That's not gonna be taken. That's not gonna be taken away from like that. Yes, they mortgaged their future on Anthony Davis. They did. And getting LeBron James. But the one thing they got is that title. No matter it could be a bubble title. I wouldn't give a damn. It's a championship. It count. You had the same amount of teams, had the same amount of days off, same amount of plays, even though the off season was a little short. But at the end of the day, they still got it. And if there was any of those teams that won a championship in the bubble, it would have been impressive. Just because it was the Lakers, it's not impressive. It's a bubble ring. All of a sudden, it's a bubble ring. But if everybody else that would have won it in the bubble, it's not a bubble ring. It's not a bubble ring. So
I'll go you a step further.
Yep.
And I'm not hardly ever defending this guy, but if any other superstar, it would have just been a title. But because it's LeBron, and he does have a natural horde of people that hate on him, they made it a bubble title, right? But Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, had they not blown a 3-1 lead and they got to the finals and they won it all, the Clippers fans would have called it a title, right? Yep. If the Nuggets had won it that year, it would have been a title. Everybody started off with the same equal opportunity. The Lakers ended up winning.
Yep, that's simple. So before we get up out of here, Mo, I want you to tell the listeners something. You know, when we was talking about boxing, you brought up a certain name. And Chris, if you want to, you can give your thoughts on this, Mo. But I want you to tell the listeners what we was talking about. You remember Marvelous Hagler? Yeah. Let the listeners know how good Marvelous Hagler actually good he was. That's just a segment I want to bring on to you. Like, let the people know how good he
was one of the most dominant champions we've had in boxing history. I think he was the middleweight. I think he held the belt for like 7 years. And that was back in the day, Coach, when guys didn't dodge each other. He fought the number 1 contender, the number 2 contender. Like, you name a big name fighter, Marvin Hagler fought him. Thomas Hearns, John the Beast Mugambi. You talked about the wars with Vito Atafermo. But Vito Atafermo, if you can look them up on YouTube, they're 2 of the most physical. And this one it was 15 rounds. Yep. Those 2 dudes stayed nose to nose, ripping each other apart with body shots, rib. I mean, they brawled. If you fought Marvin Hagler, if you wanted to fight him, if you went toe to toe with him, you were going to get knocked down or you were going to get knocked out. It took a great fighter, one of the greatest, Sugar Ray Leonard, to get in the ring with him. And Sugar Ray Leonard, he outboxed Marvin Hagler. Marvin Hagler is a fighter puncher. Sugar Ray Leonard is a great boxer.
Got you. Chris, you want to weigh in on it?
I'm good.
Got you. So, great morning show, man. Great morning show. So, we got some breaking news. Chris Duarte, was traded from Indiana to the Sacramento Kings. It'll be interesting to see what Indiana got. So, Indiana unloaded Chris Duarte to the Sacramento Kings. I think he was the oldest rookie in the NBA at 25 years old when he first came out. He had a couple of good seasons, but he also had an injury-riddled season for Chris Duarte. So That gives us, if he's healthy, that gives the Sacramento Kings a young scoring butts. Just keep you updated news up on Chris Duarte. So other than that, shout out to everybody that came through the channel. We will be having NBA free agency later today, my time, 5 Central Time. I will be live in 5 on that. Y'all stay tuned. Empire Sports Network going to be breaking y'all some news on any type of moves that come out. So we do got to move with Chris Duarte heading to the Sacramento Kings. We got a little bit, few signings to go, but few signings already happened. But most of the big signings will be signing either before or at the 5 o'clock free agency break. So Mo, tell the people they can get you at, man.
You can find me right here at the home, Sports Empire Network. And real quick, Chris, Coach, Gene, great top 10 list. Great all-time top. And I like that behind your picks, you guys also gave me the reason why, and I totally get it. I'm with you. Great list.
Yep, got you. Go ahead, Chris.
Every morning. If you're not here every morning, you're just listening to us afterwards, come join us in the morning. Put us on the background. Like, this is where you should be.
Got you. Shout out to Mo from explaining to the listeners about Marvin Hagler. He just basically letting you know how really dominant and great he was. Maybe it will be a personal Mo segment on the morning show on a special boxing segment about him, about how good or how overrated this boxer actually was. So but congratulations, Mo, on that one. But y'all know where y'all can find me at every morning here. And y'all gonna definitely find me live in 5 today. So get y'all pork chops, food, all that ready.
I'm getting all my snacks, Coach. I'm in your chat just chopping it up.
We're going to be having a long free agency period. I'm telling you guys about that. It's going to be some news breaking. So as for Coach Dante, my 2 co-hosts, Mo and Chris, we will see y'all later today at 5 o'clock, and we will be breaking NBA news when it comes out to you guys. So you got to look out for that. But other than that, see you guys at 5 o'clock Central, guys. Thank you, guys.